We're honored to host you and your wonderful spouses at dinner last night. I hope people didn't stay out too late. The evening was a chance to celebrate the bonds between our peoples. And this morning, we continue our work, and it's my privilege to welcome you to the first ever U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit. Let me also thank our Secretary of State, John Kerry, and everybody here at the State Department who is hosting us today. John's team are doing outstanding work, deepening our partnership with so many of your nations. So, John, thank you for your outstanding work. I want to begin by welcoming President Condé of Guinea and noting that two leaders were not able to join us, President Sirleaf of Liberia and President Koroma of Sierra Leone. We are grateful for the presence of their delegations, even as these countries are focused on a very difficult situation back home. And on behalf of all of us here today, our thoughts and prayers are those who've been affected by the Ebola outbreak, especially those who've lost loved ones. The United States and our international partners will continue to do whatever we can to help our African partners respond to this crisis and to stand with the people of Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. In their histories, they've overcome great challenges, and they are drawing on that same spirit of strength and resilience today. So, we've come together this week because, even as the continent faces significant challenges, as I said last night, I believe a new Africa is emerging. With some of the world's fastest growing economies, a growing middle class, and the youngest and fastest growing population on earth, Africa will help shape the world as never before. Moreover, Africa's progress is being led by Africans, including leaders represented here today. More governments are embracing economic reforms, attracting record levels of investment, gains in development, increasing agricultural production, declining rates of infectious diseases are being driven by African plans. African security forces and African peacekeepers are risking their lives to meet regional threats. A new generation of young Africans is making its voice heard. Africa's rise means opportunity for all of us, including the opportunity to transform the relationship between the United States and Africa. As I said in Cape Town last year, it's time for a new model of partnership between America and Africa, a partnership of equals that focuses on African capacity to solve problems and on Africa's capacity to grow, and that's why we're here. To my fellow leaders, I want to thank you and your teams for helping us to shape our agenda today. Our work can build on the valuable contributions already made this week by civil society groups, the private sector, young Africans, and at our first session of this summit, our faith communities, which do so much to sustain the U.S.-Africa relationship. Different though they may be, our faith traditions remind us of the inherent dignity of every human being and that our work as nations must be rooted in empathy and compassion for each other as brothers and as sisters. Now, today is an opportunity to focus on three broad areas where we can make progress together. Number one, we have the opportunity to expand trade that creates jobs. The new trade deals and investments I announced yesterday are an important step. And today we can focus on what we can do as governments to accelerate that investment. Economic and regulatory reforms, regional integration, and development so that growth is broad-based, especially among women who must be empowered for economies to truly flourish. Second, we have the opportunity to strengthen the governance upon which economic growth and free societies depend. Today we can focus on the ingredients of progress, rule of law, open government, accountable and transparent institutions, strong civil societies, and respect for the universal human rights of all people. And finally, we have the opportunity to deepen our security cooperation against common threats. As I said, African security forces and African peacekeepers are in the lead across the continent. As your partner, the United States is proud to support these efforts, and today we can focus on how we can continue to strengthen Africa's capacity to meet transnational threats, and in doing so, make all of our nations more secure. So, in short, we are here not just to talk, we are here to take action, concrete steps to build on Africa's progress and forge the partnerships of equals that we seek, tangible steps to deliver more prosperity, more security, and more justice to our citizens. So to my fellow leaders, again, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to our work together today. And at this point, I want to invite President Aziz of Mauritania, the current chairman of the African Union, to say a few words. President Aziz.
Thank you, Mr. President, Your Excellencies, Mr. Obama, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank His Excellency, the President. President Obama, President of the United States of America, Presidents, leaders, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me thank His Excellency President Barack Obama, President of the United States of America. So, Your Excellencies, President Obama, President of the United States of America, presidents and leaders, first of all, let me thank His Excellency President Barack Obama and thank the people and the government of the United States of America for the warm welcome and the hospitality that they showed to us, my peers and myself, as well as our delegation since we arrived in this beautiful capital in Washington, D.C. I'd like to thank also my brothers, the African leaders. Thanks to their presence, they honor this very important meeting, whose contributions guarantee the success. This is the first summit between Africa and the United States. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the aim of this summit is to strengthen and to increase bilateral, regional, and continental relations between Africa and the United States for the life of our future generations. We want to preserve our mutual interests, and our nations have always had strong relations. The Business Forum gathered leaders from African companies and American companies. This will give new opportunities and will contribute to increasing the volume of exchanges between Africa and the United States. And we will, in Africa, participate as partners in world affairs. We'll also be actors with influence. Africa is a young continent, potentially rich, with rapid growth. We need know-how, we need experience, and American technology in order to develop faster. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to mention important themes such as investment in future generations, growth and sustainable development, energy, food security, health, empowerment of young people, the crucial theme of regional security and of governance for future generations. The transformation of Africa is conformed to our will to go forward. You see this in our 2063 vision for the next 50 years and in our roadmap post-2015 for heavy investment and a better orientation of growth in order to reduce poverty. There's going to be more access to energy. This is one of our priorities. This is going to be more and more important in the field of renewables. This is less costly and gives a better respect to the environment. We'll have an investment in the agricultural sector. Not only we're going to gain thus food self-sufficiency, but create more employment and give added value to our products. Also, we'll be able to hire more young people and women. Yet, agriculture is facing problems, especially climate change. The population of the continent must be more resilient and be adapted to the new context, even if the volume of trade between African countries remains small. Africa still has a comparative advantage. We have a market of over 1 billion consumers. We appreciate AGOA, of course, and we would like for AGOA to allow more of an industrial, agricultural, and commercial development, widening our AGOA to more countries and to more products, and strengthening our capacities with technical assistance, especially with norms and quality insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, our population will double between now and 2050. Two-thirds will be young people less than 35 years of age. It's both an asset and a challenge. It's a huge human capital, but with a huge demand for infrastructure, health, education, housing, food, so that African has a decent life. In spite of all these efforts, which allowed important progress in the last few years in the sector of prevention, strengthening of the health system, including investment in human resources, our health indicators are still worrisome. HIV/AIDS, malaria, TB remain important causes of mortality in Africa. We fight against these scourges, but it needs to be strengthened with Africa's partners. We congratulate the United States for their contribution in this sector. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa is facing major challenges in terms of peace and security. There are armed conflicts, civil wars. Microphone, please, for the President. Thank you. So, as I said, we are facing major challenges in terms of peace and security, armed conflicts, illicit traffic, organized crime, wildlife traffic, arms contraband, drug contraband. We have made great progress within the peace and security African architecture. Nevertheless, we still have many challenges. We have to mobilize the efforts of the international community. We have to mention the cooperation agreement that exists between the African Union and the United States. Since January 2013, we have to repeat our wish for a peace facility between the U.S. and Africa, such as the Europeans have already done with us. Governance is also at stake. This is where all the challenges exist. We have to give our future generations a strong, prosperous, and inclusive Africa. The empowerment of women is one of the engines of Africa's renaissance. It will allow women to exert their basic and fundamental freedoms in all sectors. Governance for future generations will extend peace and development, strengthen the collective commitment of Africa to promote a political culture that is based on democracy and the respect of human rights, as well as the rule of law. I wish full success to our work. Long life to the cooperation between Africa and the U.S. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Aziz. I think with that, we're going to be ushering out the press, and we'll proceed with our work.